this question. Just think of like in one day deployment, right? Are they eating actually one course of food, right? Probably possible, but they are doing that much. This is the memory. They follow the process. Are you understanding enough? So process is a kind of a very following process whenever, I mean, this is what I'm trying to say, like how only following the process could be very bad thing. Maybe everyone, when the process is followed, everything is perfect there, and no one to be like getting convicted or something. Right? What really Azai is saying, like, meaning, okay, we should have a process, but we should value the interaction. Okay, we should value the individual. We should value like interaction between the team member. It is not like put them through a simple process and leave it. And one of the other great example, if you would have seen, see, so like you are currently living in the cities. In the cities, like story is a little bit different. If you're coming from, like a rural India, imagine, and you go to a bank nearby, right? Now, on your rural area, imagine you're going to a bank, so like SBI or anything, and you go and reach there, like at 12, 12:30 or something. Those people might have joined, like the office at 9:30 or 10. By 12, 12:30, like they'll put the board, like at lunchtime. Think of like there is only one customer, okay? A customer reached at 12:30. And these people will like put the board, like lunchtime and leave and then returning back again at 3:30. And that person you think of, a single person who was there, left out person. Like that person just to finish his bank work is waiting from 12:30 to 3:30 or 2:30 or whatever. In that 1 hour, 2 hour, that person is waiting. Just imagine like if it is with an empathy kind of thing you consider. They could have processed that single person maybe in a matter of 1 or 2 minutes, right? But because they did not show that a little bit amount of empathy, what happened? That process was, I mean, that person was waiting for 2 hours. Imagine. This is what the process problem. Meaning, process should be there, but with additional empathy, right? Okay, so we are following. We will go to lunch, but there is one person, so finish that. People don't really care about it because we are following process. So this is something Agile says, like, no, don't go on that. Don't always say, okay, we are following process. Hence, like, we don't like, kind of enable interaction, we don't show empathy. All this type of thing is not going to work. So they focus more on individual and interaction. Over, like process and the tools will be there, but we should have, like additional individual level interaction and all. Okay. The second core value is focus on working software over comprehensive documentation. Remember that in waterfall I said waterfall heavily focus on what? Documentation, right? Waterfall heavily focus on documentation, meaning each phase, whatever I did, like I need to document it, right? Probably I'll be having less work, more documentation type of thing, right? Because that is the model is because if I'm in phase one, what like the end result of the phase one, I have to document so that the phase two will be knowing about it because there is no communication between phase and phase, meaning the phase one and phase two parties involved there. So everything is communicated through the documentation. So what like Agile says is no, this kind of culture is not going to work. We need to focus more on building software, focus on working software over comprehensive documents. They are not saying that don't write any documentation. Documentation might be there, but you ensure like you are always focusing more on delivering working software. Working software. I mean the software that can be relied and all, right? And like customer collaboration over contract negotiation. When they are saying, like don't only focus on like signing the contract because in the earlier days this was the story. You can convince like the business owner in some way, sign the agreement, then after play game with them. Okay. But instead, what Agile says is like customer collaboration is important. You should always give priority to the customer, stay in touch with them, ask them like what they like, what they don't like about the product what you're building, what you're building. Like show them every day, take their feedback, and that way you move. It is not like okay, you build like some software for 5 years. After 5 years, like, you deliver something, and at the end, the customer don't like anything about it. Maybe the feature might be there, and the feature, whatever is there in the contract, everything is there. That is what like purely following the process. So feature is there, but say like the UI, the user is not liking. or the user probably want to add more feature, like as the user see the thing, they would have suggested you more functionality, more feature. So, like as I talk about, like keep, like customer in the, like make the customer as a first class citizen. Okay, keep, like the customer always with you so that, like you can show them what you're building and you can take their review or feedback and based on that you work. And respond to the change over following plan. Okay, so respond over the change. If the customer is asking for change, probably prioritize the customer's change requirement and like kind of work on that instead of following like a straightforward plan. Today I'll be doing this, tomorrow no. When you imagine like tomorrow what I'll be doing, that should be decided based on tomorrow's situation. No doubt I should have a plan. If the situation remains usual, I'll be following the plan. If the situation like going wrong, then I cannot follow the plan. I have to kind of respond to the situation. Are you getting it or not? So that is what like as I said, respond to the change. Whenever the customer, because if you keep the customer on priority, customer will be 100% asking you the changes and all. See, like how to prioritize the customers, like change request, and if required, like probably you need to keep your existing plan aside and focus on what is on the customer's demand first. Which thing customer is asking first, focus on that. That type of flexibility, like they are talking about. If you are like relating this 4 point, I can guarantee that those who are doing like Scrum, you can summarize all your work around these 4 bullet points. I mean, these are the four core values, the fundamental values of like Agile Manifesto. This is just a small document. Remember, meaning Agile Manifesto is not a framework. Agile Manifesto is not a framework that need to be used, like in your day-to-day development. Okay, that is not a framework need to be used on your day-to-day development. It's just an idea being crafted. This idea being implemented for you through this concept of what like a Scrum type of product. Understand the Scrum Master kind of like as a framework, Scrum as a framework. You think of you implement these concepts. And then further, like in the 12 principles, sometimes I found, like in that 12 principle, okay, in that 12 principle, you'll be feeling a little bit uncomfortableness. You may not easily read them. So that one you can, like read here, okay. The first point is customer satisfaction, right? This is what it says here. Our highest priority here is a little bit written, like in a form you may not easily read. But if you go for like in this ChatGPT or any AI system, they might be then making the thing little more easy to read type of thing. Customer satisfaction, like it's saying, prioritize early and continuous delivery of the valuable software. That is what it says. Our highest priority is to satisfy the customer through early and continuous delivery of like the valuable software. That is where the term like continuous delivery and all like it's slowly crafted. I mean, again, like the idea of continuous integration, continuous deployment, these are all, these are all, like the DevOps related terminology, but, like this term continuous delivery of valuable software is the continuous delivery is a term being crafted by these people. Okay, so what it's saying, our highest priority is the customer. We focus more on the customer, right? Customer satisfaction is the most, or in the highest priority, and always prioritize like early, meaning kind of like deliver, like software, deliver like valuable software faster. Meaning early, like you can't, like kind of deliver software after 5 years, like after signing the contract. Don't go on that way. So try to like deliver software faster, right? Faster software delivery must be your priority, right? And that is what you're doing, right? You are kind of like working with the agile based model where you might be kind of like releasing some kind of like build, releasing small version or small feature maybe every month or every 15 days, like so you'll be having a sprint time, right? And so like there will be a timeline type of thing, whatever you are following. Different organizations follow different timeline, but yes, it is like a small timeline, maybe within a month, maybe a month to 2 months or something. Like as far as like as I manifesto is concerned, they talk about like from 1 month to 2 months, you deliver something, some work you deliver to the customer. And what you did, you deliver that to the customer such that the customer can see what is happening, what the progress going on, what the change happening, the customer can see in front of him. Instead of like keeping the customer convincing, yes, we are working, show them what you have done. And do that one in a continuous frequency, such that like customer is always getting value for his money type of thing. Whatever the money they are putting, for that they are getting value. Okay. Welcome the change. That is what they have written here. Welcome change in requirement. Even late in your development, agile process happens to change for the customer's competitive advantage. This is what the whole story, right? Like if you are kind of building a software product for a customer, you will always understand like customers need. Customer, is already in a competition with another party, right? With their business competitor. Now, if customer is basically expecting new feature for their competitive advantage, and you are not able to deliver, then that is of the useless, right? And that is what. Here you'll be finding a little bit, easy writing. So welcome changes, many kind of embrace the changes, adapting to the change requirement even in the late of the development. Probably you might be, at any stage, but if customer prioritize something, then focus on that. That's what the whole idea. Delivering, working software frequently, right? And you see here from a couple of weeks, maybe like 15 days to a couple of months. Meaning within this kind of time boundary, you are delivering something. Now tell me here, like what is the sprint time? Like in how many days you kind of release something? Yes, guys. What is your organizational standard? How many days you take, to implement something? What is your timeline you follow?
Most of the time, how many people get 3 weeks?
On your case, 3 weeks, right?
Sorry.
On your case, you are saying on your organization,
yes.
3 weeks. This is what I'm trying to say. You see there it is very clearly written. Deliver working software, right, from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. Meaning the Agile manifesto has given a line, like a timeline. Meaning from 15 days to 2 month time frame, something you deliver. Maybe at the very beginning you tell your customer that okay, so we'll be delivering something in every 2 months. That is okay. Okay. Again, it is not necessary. I just need to remind this particular. It is not necessary that you must deliver something in 2 months. Okay, something in 1 month. The intent here is like with a small interval, whatever you build, you deliver it to the customer. Don't kind of stack it up, like saying, let me build everything and then finally I'll show you. That type of thing you don't do. Okay, imagine like you are building something that is taking 15 days, 20 days, or like kind of a month of time. So you finalize one time frame, and within that time frame, continuously go on delivering feature to the customer. So that is something you understand, like whatever your day-to-day work is reflected here in these thought. Okay, and that is what like with a preference to the shorter time scale, meaning with a small time frame, try to deliver something to the customer, right? And you just observe here, and here I'm going through just like to make sure if you do a little bit reading, like here it will be a little more easy to understand type of thing. Business and IT collaboration. So business stakeholder, right? With the business owner, the business stakeholder, and the developer must work together daily throughout the project. And this is what the coordination will be happening. Now, this collaboration, if you look into, like what Agile talk about, this collaboration here is mostly between the business owner, I need to say the business stakeholder, whoever is with you, and or whoever is representing the business along with your organization. And then your developer and the tester. Now here I want to remind that Agile has ignored the operation part. Understand that one. Agile has ignored the operation part. Now, why they ignored me when they talk about the developer and the stakeholder and the testers are in a coordination? Because I have already established that idea that in those days, like in 2000, like the operation team, like kind of importance was not that high. So operation team was not, like in that importance. That like these people, these 12 people, I really, 17 people, I do have a great regard for them. But they could not even visualize the importance of the operation team on those days. They could not visualize the importance. That is what one of the missing point of the Agile. Understand? This missing point, that missing dot, who connected? DevOps connected. Remember, DevOps come up with two simple ideas. DevOps basically talk about end-to-end collaboration, starting from your developer, tester, your operation team, along with the business stakeholder, the overall collaboration. Agile lead what? It talks about the business stakeholder, your developer, tester kind of like collaboration, where they missed, like the IT operation. Operation they have ignored. Understanding that is one thing. Second thing, like DevOps basically talk about the usage of the tool for automating the thing. Meaning DevOps is technically two things totally. One is, like kind of the end-to-end collaboration coordination, including, like operation. That is what the missing part. The operation was missing in Agile. DevOps talked about that. Second thing is DevOps talked about automation. That's all. DevOps promote the concept of automation. In Agile, we never find anything that they talk about, that you use automation and all. Okay, because you understand that during 2001, when this proposal and all came into picture, there was nothing called automation on those days. Why automation was not there? Remember how you do automation. You do automation through the help of tools. And around 2000, there was no tooling culture. I mean, tools are not solidified at that time, or even tools are not being introduced at that time. Getting or not, the tools era started after 2005, 2005 to 2015. This is where the tools, like evolved in the market. Okay, almost for every activity, different tools came into picture. So tools are not there, like heavily by 2000 or 2001 that anyone will be thinking about automation through the tools. Understanding that? Because see, the era, if you look into from 90s to 2005 or something, it is the programming language era. I mean, that is the time where languages are getting said, like Java language, Python language, .NET as a language. Many of the JavaScript as a language, many of the languages are taking shape during that 10, 15 year. Okay, when each language are making themselves strong, like Java was one of the popular languages, .NET, PHP, like your Python, all these languages are getting solidified during that time, 90s to 2005, that is where the languages were getting solidified. After 2005 onward, around these programming language, programming framework evolution started. And along with the programming framework, like tools are also getting introduced. So tool evolution, like the usage of the tool in programming world started, like after 2005 or close to 2005. That is the time where the tools are evolving. So Agile was never kind of like recommending the concept of automation heavily. They never talked about automation. You read the overall thing, you'll never find the automation they talked about. These are two things, like as a DevOps bring in. Operational collaboration, meaning along with others, operation team also need to be collaborated. And the second thing is automation. If you're thinking about DevOps, these are the two things. Meaning, on top of Agile, if you take operation team into collaboration and you take, like automation into consideration, then you're not only doing Agile, but in a way you are doing DevOps. Understand? So anyway, I'm clarifying, but I just want you to read it. Okay, I'm just going through so that this easy point also get recorded. So you're understanding, like that one which they have written here, right? Then, like build project around motivated individuals, give them, like environment and support as they need, and like trust them, like to be get your job done kind of thing. That is all refers to have a motivated team. Have motivated team and build project around the motivated and trusted individual. I mean, trusted individual in the sense, like pick up, like your team member to whom you can trust, to whom you can give the responsibility, who is going to own the thing. Are you getting who is ready to take the ownership, right? When we don't even like kind of consider those type of team where someone is not ready to take the ownership, right? If I give you a module, if I give you something, then you should take the ownership, like you should take the ownership, and if something goes well, you'll be getting appreciated. If something went wrong, you'll be questioned. That type of people, like you pick up, right? We have the motivated team, those who are going to work in a coordinated way, and just trust them that they can achieve the thing. Right? So that is what, like another thing. And if you look into here, like the most efficient and effective method of conveying information, right? And two, and within the development team is a face-to-face conversation. This is what you stand up and talk. This is what I'm saying. Just imagine how, sometimes, it takes time for people to understand this, like how theoretical thing being implemented. Okay, but you see like how line by line you are realizing, okay, this is what I'm doing in my organization through Scrum, exactly the same thing we're doing. This is just one line. When you can imagine 2001, they have written one line like for conveying information between team or face-to-face communication is the best way, right? That is what they said, and you are doing through some kind of like a Scrum or through any other framework. You are doing the same thing. Face-to-face communication, convey information via face-to-face conversation, which is considered to be the most efficient method, right? And then the next thing is, like here, working software is the primary measure of progress, right? You just observe here, like functional software is the primary measure of progress. If my team is moving forward and all, I don't want to count, like anything, whether they are working or not, by looking into whether they are sitting 8 hours there or not. I don't care about what they are doing. If my software is getting built, like I'm always getting, right? But imagine my team member is, so like I have given them a 10 days timeline. He's not working 9 days, I'm not having any problem if he can deliver on the 10 days, that's all. Okay, so you don't irritate them, like they don't irritate you as long as your work is going on. So focus on working software. Meaning if I have a team member who is sitting, like all days, like kind of free, and like evening half an hour he work and go home, but he just deliver the work for me. You should not trouble them. Are you getting on? Always the measure for progress should be like are they delivering working software or not. If they're doing so, then don't trouble them. And the next one is like here, Agile like process promotes sustainable development. The sponsor, developer, and the user should be able to maintain a constant pace in like indefinitely, right? That the Agile process promote the sustainable development and a constant working pace. The constant working pace, as you are seeing, you always promise like in how many days like you'll be releasing a sprint, right? So that is what like all the things. Technical excellence, simplicity, self-organizing team, the regular reflection. Now these are like kind of getting a little bit like too much type of thing, but the majority of the thing you will be realizing, like on your day-to-day work. This is what like the Agile manifesto. Understand? I'm not copying these like kind of 12 principle, but like that is what like Agile defines. So Agile stands upon four core value, as I said, and 12 different principles. And you can see there, if you do a little bit Google search, Agile Manifesto, you will 100% find that agilemanifesto.org link, and you can read it there. Are you getting it? Now we need to kind of like analyze, or we need to have some observation around the discussion what we made, right? What Agile says, like you deliver software faster. You deliver software frequently, right? Maybe in a defined timeline, have a defined timeline, that the sustainable development, a constant pace kind of thing, what they said. So if you consider like in 1 month I'll be delivering something, that will maintain that particular like time frame and all, right? Now, what all these things leading to? If you start analyzing and try to convert that one into some kind of observation type of thing, okay? If you consider these are some of the observations, the first thing you'll be finding is that Agile is essentially referring to an iterative, iterative model. Meaning, what is the meaning of iterative? Meaning, instead of like the way like waterfall was working, instead of like in the waterfall where it was a linear sequential one-time process, Agile is not talking about one-time thing. Agile is saying that you build software repeatedly. How? Like you build something, deliver to the customer, then probably take the feedback and work on it, or if there's no feedback or a positive feedback, then you work on the new feature, right? Meaning Agile is a kind of like talking about, or Agile is promoting, meaning the overall summary if you observe, Agile is promoting that don't look into your development process as one single big thing. Okay, instead you look into as many small feature oriented way. Think like whatever the product you are building, then that product is having many feature, and you are building this feature one by one type of thing. Okay, today you build one feature. Today in the sense like you start with one feature. You took 15 days, you build that feature, you tested that feature, you deliver that one to the customer. Then you build the second feature, took like 15 days, you like build that one and you deliver it. Now keep this process continuously going on. In that process, if any time like whatever the feature you have developed, when the user is like kind of seeing that one and the user is giving some feedback, work on that, right? Or like the user is bringing in some competing feature and like they want like that feature to be done faster, prioritize that one and work on that. So that means in Agile, like you are working in an iterative model. It is not a sequential model where you start at point A and you reach to the point B and your job done. No. So here it is basically like kind of referring or kind of promoting like kind of like an iterative development model. So like the first, remember that you understand here in the entire like the in the entire like the core value here and in the principle, they have never used that term called as iterative model. Now this is what I'm trying to say. These are all the industry's observation, meaning they simply put this manifesto out. They said, okay, this is a new style we are thinking, we are hoping like this style will be working better and all. But none of the place they have mentioned that we are talking about the iterative model and all. But whenever this like manifesto being observed by people, people realize that okay, these people are talking about an iterative model. That is the reason I'm saying that like Agile, the Agile manifesto never directly mention anywhere the term like iterative model because it was a very abstract outline type of thing. It's an abstract outline. Many things on Agile being summarized through observation that okay, probably their intent is this one. In those 17 people, probably their intent is to say this kind of thing, do like this, do like. Maybe they have not used the term iterative model, but the industry get into a conclusion, whatever the way they are guiding the new approach, that need an iterative development process, right? So it is an iterative, like development, like model kind of thing, right? And here, like each iteration is like being called as like a sprint. Remember, again, you look into that core value principle and all. You never heard this term sprint. Then from where the sprint as a term come into picture? This is what comes from your Scrum kind of framework. When you have to understand like Agile manifestation one, like which is giving you abstract outline. On top of that outline, there is certain framework being created, and the framework, like try to overall summarize it, give some better terminology and all. Meaning this iterative, meaning Agile is an iterative model that is being, like the summarization of their core value and principle. And that is where we are referring it as an iterative model. But the term like sprint is, like a Scrum term. Understand? The other thing is like, kind of, like continuous, right? Continuous, like the kind of feedback, right? So you have to kind of work with a model where it is kind of, like the another way of looking into iterative model is like, don't look into your overall project as like as one big thing that you need to start the entire big thing and end the entire big thing. Rather, you think of like your overall project as many small feature oriented thing. You build feature by feature, okay, and go on like delivering that. Take the continuous feedback as you deliver something. Like kind of take the feedback. If the feedback is positive, go to the next one. Otherwise, like make changes if required, and all this type of thing. So continuous feedback, like with a customer, like that is another, like important observation here. And it was promoting that cross-functional, like kind of, like and like motivated team. That is another thing they are kind of like talking about. They're talking about like trust your team member, work or build a team, like which are kind of ready to take ownership. So that type of, like ideas are, like important there. And, like because Agile basically like don't force you to build everything at a time or don't look into the overall project as one big thing. Rather, you start with like the small function, very small functionality, small feature kind of thing, deliver that one, and then like on top of that, other feature you go on building. So, like in Agile, you don't need like an overall planning or a big amount of planning for the overall project, right? So you can start with like minimal, right? Minimal, like upfront like kind of planning, right? Because you can work with minimum upfront planning, and you need to have an adaptive, like kind of mindset. If you're having an adaptive mindset that okay, I build one feature, tomorrow I'll be building another feature, or the customer might be coming in with like another new feature, new functionality. So you should be always embrace all these type of things. So these are some of the observations. But again, as I said, like you need to read a little bit, okay? Like these are 12 principles. Sorry, yeah, 12 principle and four core value. You read it one time, okay? And I just kind of like stop it here with this observation. I'll talk more, like some of the benefit and some of the limitations where Agile is looking like limited and all. And after that, I'll be bringing in what few thing, like Agile looks like it is missing, and how, like DevOps is trying to fill it. Remember, I told you DevOps is not, like kind of a like a SDLC methodology, but it basically addresses some of, like the gap in, like Agile. Okay. So I'm hoping like tomorrow I can close this one and then we'll be getting ready for the Linux. Okay. Is it clear, guys? I mean, I do understand there is one last class where little bit of the theoretical thing will be there. Okay, with that I'll close, but I'm expecting this background, like clarifying the thing. Okay. Is it clear, guys? Naveen? Yes.
Yeah, hi sir. Actually, this is my first class. Okay, so I have few queries related to this course. Actually, is there any communication channel for
Yeah, we'll
the demo, the first video. So there it was discussed like you have mentioned like chapter wise. Like first you will go to Linux, after that cloud services, after that Terraform and so. The same pattern will be repeated, or any?
no, that ordering, like there are many technologies which are not having dependency, man. Like Docker, Kubernetes, Terraform, and so they don't have dependency. So I can pick up any order. But wherever the order dependency is there, the order will be followed. But where the order dependencies are not there, then I can go in any order. So like to teach you GitHub, I particularly don't need any. Meaning if I want more also, I can start teaching you GitHub, right? Because those are independent things. So that order part, you leave upon me. But yes, the first few things will be on that order, Linux, then like AWS, and then we'll be entering into the DevOps toolchain part. In the toolchain part, I'll be picking up the flexibility. The order I will be identifying. Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry for the for
No, go ahead. There's nothing. Yeah.
Actually, in that I have mentioned like for every act, like every tool, you have mentioned like the duration itself, like whether it's a 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, it's a days and it was mentioned like a days wise. And I feel that for Docker it's 10 days and Kubernetes also 10 days. But I don't think so. So I think for Kubernetes, it would be good if you extend a little bit more.
No, that's what I'm saying. Remember, like, nothing is absolute there. If I said ended, that does not mean strictly ended after that I'll be closing. Remember, I always, like, focus how best a student is understand. If students are curious, then I can go on more. That is not, 100% they'll be taking more time. That was an approximation time I have given there. Yeah, those are all
Yeah.
approximation. Roughly, this is a timeline. Because we need to kind of like put it in this way, the student understand, okay, in 4 or 5 months it will be getting ended. But yes, it will be like how I ensure that it is getting ended roughly within that timeline by engaging you in the weekend and all. Okay, so that is the way I mostly ensure that by 5 months it will be getting closed. Okay, but for that I have to take into like weekend classes.
Okay. So there is no final project, right? It's an end-to-end project like that in this course.
This is what I was saying. Like in DevOps class, project is all about like the pipelines. Okay, those pipelines will be there, but the Torm project is a little bit like different here. We don't build project as a DevOps engineer. You don't build project, right? You will be already having code written by your developer. You need to take them and build pipeline. What type of
Yeah,
pipeline?
build pipeline.
So infrastructure pipeline, application pipeline, those pipeline will be learning when you get into Jenkins and GitHub Action. Those pipeline will be building. Okay, but majorly once see the thing is there are two type of people teach in the market. People those who sell what is getting sold. What is getting sold will be teaching you project. Meaning in in DevOps context, when someone said project, I sometimes don't feel good also. Why? Because over there, there's nothing called project. There's things called as pipeline. But people knows that project is a term being sold heavily. That's the reason they always say, okay, we'll be teaching you 10 project, 20 project. What that 10 project is or 5 project is? Nothing but the pipeline. Okay.
Yeah.
So those pipeline.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you. In the pipeline, all the things will be covered like.
All the things will be used. Those tools and all, whatever we have learned, that is going to be used.
Okay.
Meaning like I'm teaching you separately all the tools, and when I get into Jenkins and GitHub Action, we will be seeing I'm using them. Understanding that? So basically what happened, without teaching you the tool, if I go and use them, you will never understand a single thing. Okay, because you don't know that tool thing properly, right? So that will be create the trouble. So here I'll ensure like to learn the things, and then, but you need to understand like you have to show the patience in the last, because that Jenkins and GitHub Action will be coming at the very last chapter. That is where the pipeline thing will be seen.
Yeah. Thanks. I'm done with my queries.
No worries, because we are open for always like question and all. Yes, others have a question before I wrap up. Anyone? No other?
No, nothing.
Right. Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you. Let's join tomorrow. We'll be finishing this introductory thing. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.